Hi there, this is Lee McQueen, and I'm signing in to talk more about free trade. This time, not about TPP so much as its companion piece, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. This is TTIP, and TTIP involves the European Union and the United States. And so it's created or being negotiated now in order to promote trade and multilateral economic growth, as they describe it, between the United States and the European Union, the US and the EU. So we'll say it like that. It's a companion to the TPP, and unlike what Barack Obama tried to tell us, no, we're not down with TPP, and we're also not down with TTIP either. But the European Union, the people of the European Union, they're really not down with TTIP. Part of the reason is that the contents of the agreement are classified. It's there's secrecy and there's concealment, and like with everything else involving our government, it makes people nervous when secrets are kept, when information is concealed, when there's a promise of transparency and that promise is broken, and people feel that they're losing control over their lives. They get nervous. And they get real upset to the point, like they're doing in the European Union. They're taking to the streets over this. So parts of the negotiated drafts of the agreement, because it's not completed yet. Completion is completion of negotiation is not expected till the end of 2016 at the earliest, and then 2020 at the latest. But the draft copies were leaked and or partially leaked, and so there was increased security from the European Union and the United States in response. So that was criticized. The agreement itself is opposed by unions, also charities, international charities, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and environmentalists, among other groups. But the strongest resistance to this agreement, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, seems to be coming from the European Union. And basically, the reason is the TTIP would reduce the lifestyle, the environment, the food safety standards, all of that. It would reduce the lifestyle of the people in the European Union to that of U.S. citizens, and they're not having it. They're not having it. We're used to it. We're used to being beat down by our corporations, but the European Union, they're not used to that, and they don't want it. They don't want any parts of it. Specifically, the reduced regulations in all arenas, such as food safety laws, environmental legislation, banking regulations, things that we have accepted for the most part, the too big to fail, bank beatdown that we all experienced during the recession, environmental, we might have clean water, we might not, we might have lead in the water, we might not, I guess we got to drink it. And then the food safety, we're eating our Franken food, the genetically modified food, and we're like, well, if we don't eat it, then what else are we going to eat? And so we eat it. They're not having it over in Europe. They don't want any parts of any of that, and so they're protesting it. Also, the sovereignty, like with the TPP, the sovereignty of individual nations. This trade agreement threatens that in the same way. Basically, it's perceived as being, this agreement is being perceived as being an assault on U.S. and Europe by monster-sized, well, I call it monster-sized extinction level event sized corporations. So again, it's basically corporations taking over the role of government, subjugating and dominating the government, and then having direct impact on the lifestyle and living standards of the citizens with virtually no protection from these corporations. There's nowhere to turn after this agreement is enacted. So anyway, negotiations for this agreement have been taking place in alternating cities, from Brussels, and then a city in the U.S., and then it goes back to Brussels, and then it comes back to the U.S. for another round of negotiations. So the next round of negotiations is going to be in July of this year. So this summer, this July, the negotiations are gonna take place in Brussels. So there might be wildness in the streets of Europe, even as we have our Philadelphia hoedown at the Democratic National Convention. So fun times, fun time in the summertime. But overall, they're hoping that negotiations will be ended by the end of 2016. And then after the negotiations, it has to be ratified. In the European Union, it has to be ratified by the Council of Ministers. And then, of course, in the United States, like the TPP, it has to be ratified by both houses, the House of Representatives and then also the Senate. So the way that it's being justified or pushed or explained in shortened sentences, branding. The US and the EU want to be standard makers instead of standard takers. And that's why they're saying they want this agreement. But the negatives, people are just saying there are too many negatives involved with it. It's no one wants to buy what they're selling. For one, the secrecy, which is so off-putting to people who want to have control or some control over their lives and don't want to see their lives, sovereignty over their lives, and certainly their governments taken over by an outside force, which is what they're afraid of. And then, there's a question like, if this is so great, then why don't you let us see it so we can judge what we think about it? That's what it comes down to. And I've spoken of secrecy by our government, our own administration, despite saying that they're wanting to be transparent and open and democracy and freedom of information. There's been so much concealment on so many issues by our government. It's just ridiculous and very off-putting, and it's being kind of perceived as something that we cannot trust. If there's nothing wrong, then why don't you show us? Show us the emails. Show us the agreements. Show us the negotiations. Show us the deals. Give us the information instead of hiding it from us, and then we may trust you again. So it's TTIP is being opposed for just these very reasons by various unions, charities, NGOs, like I said, and especially environmentalists. And this is because, especially on the European Union side, they're very much afraid and nervous and angry and upset at the very thought of submitting to U.S. type labor standards and regulations on banking and food safety, environment. They don't want to be reduced to U.S. level living or lifestyle through the overreach of these corporations. And then, of course, the sovereignty. They don't want our wages. They don't want our living wage. They don't want our vacation time. They don't want any of that. They want what they're used to, which is a lot better than what we've got. And so that's why they're resisting. They can look and see what people are going through over here, and they're like, no, we don't want that. And so they're fighting it. They're fighting it. They don't want to be like us. So anyway, they're saying that there's no way that the government will be able to protect its people and the communities of these people from these corporations under TTIP or under TPP. But for this, TTIP, they're saying, like, how are we going to be protected? Are you going to protect our food? We don't want that genetically modified food. Don't feed it to us. We want clean water. We want roads and infrastructure. We want our health care. We want our healthcare system. We're used to being able to get treatment that we deserve instead of bleeding out on the sidewalk like they do over there in the United States. So there's a lot of excitement and resistance to this agreement. They want their health care. They want consumer protection. They want their privacy. We've given up so much in the United States, and it's been little by little, and it's been drilled into us that to want more or to expect more is a type of selfishness or something that we don't deserve. And the feeling is different over in Europe. They know for a fact that they deserve better, they expect better, and they don't want what we've got over here. They want what they have. So there's been massive protests in the European Union, and in response to all the secrecy, Greenpeace has leaked even more information about TTIP, and it's just revving up people even more what they're seeing from those leaks. And so, just like I've spoken of in previous videos about the lack and scarcity of information about issues that are forefront in people's minds, whether it's trusting our government, crime and punishment, trade agreements, food safety, air quality, water quality, banking, lifestyles, everything that, guards our lives, and there's secrecy around it. People get nervous. They want to know. And the more the governments resist and keep that information concealed, the more people want to have it, and the more that they'll do to get it just so they can feel informed about what's going on, what's happening in their lives. And in response, there's been such a crackdown on the people that leak and the whistleblowers. There's been so many threats and so many imprisonments. It's just a strange time that we're in now, and people don't understand it. They're nervous. They want a remedy, and they're looking for some honesty and some trust and some transparency. Maybe they'll get it. Hopefully they'll get it. I think it's a good thing when people know what to expect, and they can deal with things better. If they feel that the government is behaving fairly. When government sides on these corporations and sells out its own people to the corporations, that breeds mistrust. And so that's with these trade agreements, with both the TTIP and with the TPP, and then with just policy issues in general. So look for some chaos in the streets.